Hey, hi all, welcome back to the channel again. We are going to discuss about reactive forms today, and reactive form is actually nothing but a way or a type to create forms based out of a model, right? So we do have a models. We can have multiple models at the same time in a TypeScript file or in a component, you know, class. But then, we can create a form, an entire form based out of those model itself. Okay, now how to do that, right? So to do that, we want to import the reactive forms module, and we need to pass that reactive forms module into the imports array of that particular component. And then to create a form group, we need to import the form group interface, and to create each control we need to import form control interface. So let's head over towards the Visual Studio Code and understand what it is. So here, this is the example of a simple form we have with the two fields, right? And let me show you the model now. So if we have a model created over here, which is type of user, if I go to the user, as you can see, there are four properties user contains. The last property company is of type company interface, and now the company interface is also has two properties, right? So now we need to implement these three properties and these two, total five properties we need to actually instantiate. So that's the reason we have created our model based out of that user interface. Okay, and then if you look at over here in the imports section, so this is the reactive forms module we have imported, and we have given it into the reactive into the components imports array. Then we have a form group interface, then we have a form control interface. Now as you can see, I have already created, just to save some typing time, I have already created this variable of type form group. Then we have a ng on init method. So this is actually a lifecycle hook. Here we need to generate a form or create a form based out of our model itself, because this is where this is the code which actually runs whenever the instance of this particular component gets created. Okay, so this is the very special and good place where we can initialize or initialize our form or create our form. Okay, or initialize any other states or variables of the forms as well. So as we look into, actually we have learned this into the component lifecycle hook video. If you are not aware of this, you can watch that video as well. It is available in the playlist. So let's create a form group now. This dot user form group is equals to new form group. Okay, so now as you can see, the first parameter is nothing but a controls we have now. So this is the controls actually. Okay, so this actually takes a collection of child controls, and which which are identified by the unique key. Okay, so let's add that into this object. So it actually expects some object. So let's add whatever keys we have inside our model itself. So let's say name new form control. So you need to create a form control over here, and then initialize this form control with the default value, as you can see over here. Okay, default value or a default state we can say. Now let's use this dot user dot name over here, and I'll just copy paste two times, so that we will have a form control for email, and we will have a form control for gender as well. Let me give commas over here so that we should not get any issues. So now for this company, we want to create a new form group because it contains two children's inside it, right? So let's create a new form group now. And again, to this as well, we need to pass some controls. So let's take the name over here, and let's create a form control. The value is coming from the company dot cname over here. Okay, let's copy this and paste it over here. Now the second input is for the C address, right? So as you can see, we have already created our form. Now it's time to bind this form, bind this actually form group to the form itself. Okay, so let's copy this variable name from here, and we are into the reactive form component HTML. Over here, you need to find the form group, directive. So this is the form group directive, which actually binds the form group variable to it. Okay, so that Angular should understand this form is related to this form group, because we can have multiple form groups. Okay, and we can have multiple forms with it attached to it, right? So that's the reason Angular needs this identification, so that it could understand the form, the form group, and the relation between this form group and the form itself. So it identifies based on this directive. Now what we can do, we can just add the remaining uh, controls over here. So let me add a gender control over here. So as you can see, we are going to add the radio type of control over here, and then we need to actually iterate over this, right? We do have a array over here, so that's the reason we need to iterate, and we are going to add the loop. Okay, so now let's add a loop. Ng for let gen of user dot gender, and then over here the type is name, id will be gender, then we have name, that will be gender, and then we need to bind the value attribute with the value we have inside this variable over here, and then close this and interpolate whatever value it has inside the chain. Okay, so that is nothing but male and female, right? So these all values will come over here, and it will iterate, and it will create two radio controls for us. And after that, we do have a form group again, right? So if you look at this company, it has a new form group now. So for this new form group, we'll add a wrapper kind of div over here, so that it should wrap whatever controls inside it. So let's copy paste these two controls and paste it over here. Now what I can do, I'll just quickly update the name and the labels and these properties. So let me copy the CNAME. I will update the for attribute now for CNAME. Then we have a ID CNAME and name CNAME. Okay, then we have a C address. For C address, ID C address and name C address. For address, you can use the text area as well, no issues. Now let me add the labels CNAME and then C address over here. So with these all changes, let's look at the form. Okay, so these are coming like this. Let's update some CSS. Let's update the flex flow for this particular div. So I'm adding some styles, inline styles, flex flow as column now. Let's head over towards the browser now. As you can see, these fields are coming properly now, one below one. Now we need an identification for the form group name and form control name as well, right? Because we do have a form group defined inside this form, right? This parent form group. So how do we name it, right? Or the section. So we already created a section, a different section for it. So this is kind of a acting as a wrapper for us. So over here, what we can do, we can give the form group name company, right? So we do have a key with the same name, as you can see over here, company. So let's copy that and paste it over here. So this will become as a form group, a separate form group for us. Okay, so now with this change, we are actually left with only one change now, that is nothing but a form control name itself, right? So now let's add a form control name over here. This is also a directive. So to this we need to add the value of name attribute or the value of this key, okay, or the key name. So the key name and the value of this name and the value of this form control name should always same. So now let's copy this, paste it over here. Email, again copy paste, then gender we have, here we have a C name, then we have C address, right? And then below we have a two buttons. Now this is the submit type button, so it by default will call the on submit method. Now we need to log something into the on submit method, so let's log the user form group over here. So let's say console.log this dot user form group over here, and then here this dot user form group dot reset, right? So let's copy everything, sorry, let's save everything, and let's head over to the browser now. So as you can see, we are in the browser. Let's add some dummy names, dummy email, test company, then we have a test address. So if I open the console window now, if I submit, as you can see, we are actually getting an instance of a form group and which has a controls, right? So look closely, how this company key is working. Okay. So if you look at over here, the value of this form control, so this is nothing but a form control, right? So this is the instance of the form control. It holds the value as is, right? But as compared to email or gender or name, these all fields are same, but if you compare company with them, you can see the difference. The company also has a controls over here, as we have this controls object for this form group, and because company is also is a form group, so that's the reason it also contains the controls, and it has a value as an object, as you can see over here, because it contains two controls, cname and caddress. So that's the reason it contains value as an object over here, and we cannot directly access this uh, values, as we are able to access values for this 3ml, okay, for these three fields, because these three fields are type of form control, and to access the values of inner or nested form control, or sorry, nested form group, we have another way. So let's look at the difference of it. Let me remove this. As we have a controls as an object, right? We have a controls as an object, it has a keys. So let's use object.keys now. Object.keys, here this dot user form group dot controls, okay, dot map. So we are iterating over the keys of controls. Let's take a key, and now we can console log this dot user form group dot controls of key, like this, and then we have a value attribute to it. So using value we can access the value. Now let me resubmit the form again. Test company, test address, submit. Now as you can see, as a part of value we are getting an object over here, but for these fields, because these actually fields are a type of form control, we are getting value as it is, but this is nothing but an inner form group, so that's the reason we are getting the value in the form of object itself. So in order to print those values as well, what we can do, we can add a condition. If key is equals to this key, right? Then what we can do, we can just take that variable. We can create a variable and assign the value of this to it. Let's say company for group is equals to this one as form group. Okay, so we are typecasting it, and now object dot keys company form group dot map. Here again we will get a key. Over here, let's console log dot value. Right, controls. Right, now we have this form group, it also has controls in it. Now controls of key dot value. So this is how we are going to access the values of a inner form group, which is nothing but a company. Now let me save this and resubmit the form again. Test company and test address. Okay, so again, like I'm getting issues. Actually, we need to iterate over the controls of it. Okay, because the controls has the key. Now let me repost the form again or resubmit the form. Test at email, test company, then we have test address. Now you can see the values are printed over here, right? So as we are looping through the controls over here, in the same way we need to loop through the controls of that particular form group also over here, and then take out the key, and we can access that particular controls value using the key. Okay, so this is how we can actually access the inner object or inner form groups values as well. Okay, so this is how you can actually create multiple form groups inside a form group, or you may have multiple parent level form groups also based on your, like, it depends on your model itself. So how well structured your model is, based out of that you can create your own form, and you can add multiple form groups into it. Okay, so as we have added this form group, so how we are accessing it, as you can see, we are accessing the parent form group using the controls itself, and then again we are checking the key whether it is nothing but a company or not. If it is a company, then again, um, take the particular control or a group as a form group, and we are assigning it to the variable, and again we are actually looping through the controls of that particular form group over here and accessing the values of it, like this, how we are accessing the values for the parent one, right? So this is how. And again, like through reset, if I click on reset button, you can see all fields are getting resetted, and again if I fill the form, if I submit it, again I'll get this kind of values. So this is how the reactive approach is. It is strictly based on the model whatever you have, and based on that model you can create your form. And the main thing actually you need to keep in mind is that whenever you bind that reactive form into the form on the view, you need to use this directive, and you need to bind that directive. This is nothing but a form group directive, and you need to bind the value of a form group variable to it. And after that, to tightly couple whatever controls you have, you need to use the form control name directive. Then you need to use again form group name directive if you have multiple form groups inside a particular form group. Okay, so these are all things you need to keep in mind, like form group, form control, and reactive form module. So these are the basic things, right? So I hope you have liked this video. If you like it, so if you get something new, some new understandings, hit like on the video, share this video with your friends, subscribe the channel, and hit the bell icon so that you never miss any new upcoming updates. Thanks all guys. Let's meet in next video.